I do not represent the media. I'm not a paid actor. And so now we see just how fragile our democracy can be. You see this document? That's right, the Constitution. This has been, is, and God willing will always be the core of what makes America great. On January 20th, 2017, as I recall, you swore an oath to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States. Since then, all I see are attempts to undermine the freedoms guaranteed to all of us under the First Amendment to this Constitution. Constant berating of mainstream media as fake news undermines freedom of the press. Imposing a travel ban on Muslim countries undermines freedom of religion. Denouncing those with whom you personally disagree for speaking out and demonstrating in support of their constitutional rights undermines freedom of speech. Put-downs of and interference with our judicial branch undermine our entire system of government. So my question is, since when does undermining the First Amendment preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution? Obviously it doesn't. In fact, it tears this document up and throws it in our faces. So it seems, absolute power is already corrupting absolutely. By using your position to target mainstream media with disparaging comments, you are so obviously trying to lay the groundwork for a dictatorship. There's plenty of history out there to prove this. It's happening in other countries around the world as I speak. Abridging and suppressing freedom of the press is a hallmark of all great dictatorships. It's always the first thing to go. Apparently, some of us refuse to learn from history, and so it seems we may be condemned to repeat it. Let me be clear. If you're calling our free press the enemy of the American people, then you are, in effect, calling this Constitution the enemy of the American people. And if you're doing that, sure looks to me like you're an enemy of the Constitution. And if you're an enemy of the Constitution, then perhaps it is you who are the enemy of the American people. Look, if you're insecure and afraid of criticism, lashing out and scapegoating the media only serves to shine a spotlight on that insecurity. You want the truth? There's only one problem. You can't handle the truth. But here it is. Seeking to suppress our mainstream media makes you look as weak as Vladimir Putin, because only a weak, insecure, cowardly leader seeks to silence his opponents, which is why most of us don't see Mr. Putin as any kind of an American role model. So, every time you say or tweet fake news, I say fake president, because only a fake president would undermine the Constitution on a daily basis. I say fake president because only a fake president would break his inaugural oath on a daily basis. I say fake president because you and your advisors obviously can't handle media criticism. My advice? Grow a pair. If you can't take the media heat, you should get the hell out of the kitchen. A smart, wise leader knows how to take criticism without flinching. And you'll excuse me, but your flinch is showing bigly. Look, you're not a career politician. I get that. But then that kind of makes you a, let's see, how shall I put this? Ah, yes, that makes you an apprentice president. Well, perhaps you were unaware that your new job came with this caveat. You see, you work for me now. You work for us. You work for all of us. Every single American soul. That's right. We are now your boss. You're not a king. You're a public servant. And as such, we the people can and will hold you accountable. So, Step into my office. Please, take a seat. Now, your main job, your main responsibility, your main obligation, your main duty was to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States. That's what you swore on January 20th. Now, call me old-fashioned, but I believe that when you take a solemn oath, you do your utmost to live up to that promise. But if you've undermined the Constitution, and you've broken that oath, you've already failed at your job. So, as far as I'm concerned, Mr. Apprentice President, you're fired. This should come as no surprise. Surely, if you had been given this task as a contestant on your own reality TV show, you would have had to fire yourself by now. But don't take it too hard. You see, I just happen to like presidents who don't get captured. In lie, after lie, after lie. Oh, about the face paint. I should think this is overstating the obvious. It is a simple representation of the great division your proposed policies and divisive rhetoric have helped create to tear apart this great nation. You don't need to build another wall. You've already built a huge wall of division here, running right down the middle of this great land. First things first, I say, in the words of one of our great Republican leaders, Mr. President, tear down this wall. You wanted extreme vetting? Well, the way things are looking, perhaps you should have tried more extreme vetting of your staff and cabinet, because it sure looks like there's a lot of bad dudes, a lot of bad hombres flooding across the borders of government offices at your invitation. So these are the best people you promised. Because it looks like some are bringing crime, some are rapists of the environment, and some, I assume, are good people. Yep, looks like you've drained the swamp, turned it into a bog, and filled it full of corporate snakes. And I can't help but notice you continue to blame and throw rocks at everybody else, instead of manning up and taking responsibility when things don't go your way. To which I'll say what I've always said. Take that huge plank out of your own eye, so you can see clearly to take the tiny splinter out of your opponent's. If you can't do that, then at the moment you must know that the good people you've managed to hoodwink and manipulate into voting for you, much as they support you now, they're never really far from turning on you. Never really far from realizing they've been had. Never really far from calling you little, lion, crazy, crooked. Never really far from shouting, lock him up. Because we all know what goes around comes around. Believe me, that I can tell you. I do not represent the media, but every day lately I thank God for freedom of the press and the brave souls there who are standing up to hold you accountable to the oath you swore on January 20th. Why am I doing this? I am doing this in support of the First Amendment to this Constitution. You see, when we the people feel like our rights are being attacked, we also fight back. Why am I doing this? Because I want my kids and grandkids to know that I stuck my neck out in support of what really makes America great. You see, before this last presidential election, they were feeling pretty safe. They're not feeling very safe now, and not because of terrorists or immigrants. They're not feeling safe now because of the destructive policies and harmful rhetoric they hear coming from the so-called leader of the free world, their so-called president. Why Why am I doing this? Because I cannot sit idly by while I see our Constitution trashed on a daily basis. Of course, this is what you, your advisors, and Mr. Putin have apparently wanted to do all along. Break things down, tear things apart, set us against each other, divide and conquer. In which case your advisors seem to think they are better, smarter, and wiser than the founders of this country. They are not. Neither are you. Believe me, that I can tell you. Maybe your advisors are not so bright, Bart. To paraphrase one of them, maybe they should sit down, keep their mouths shut, and listen to the people for a while, clearly turning this great nation into a cheap copy of a kleptocratic Russian oligarchy where the country is run by a few wealthy individuals who have no apparent accountability to the law, to our shared multicultural heritage, to our cherished rights, or to this endangered planet is not what our founders hoped for, designed, or imagined. I do not represent the media. I'm not a paid actor. I'm neither a registered Democrat nor a Republican. I'm just one independent American voice. Simple, average, everyday, white, middle class, working stiff. See, you'll recognize the stiff part. But over 375 years ago, my ancestors were refugees to this country from religious oppression. And after over 375 years, we have not forgotten where we came from and what we have endured to bring us to this day. We did not come all this way to live in a dictatorship where the Constitution and the foundations of our democracy are trampled underfoot by a gang of pseudo-elite thugs who only know how to foment division and spew fake nationalist propaganda to a population that has forgotten its history and doesn't recognize when absolute power is corrupting absolutely. This past year has shown us all just how fragile our democracy is. Congress, it's now your turn. You must all ask yourselves these questions. Is this administration preserving, protecting, and defending freedom of speech? If it seeks to silence opposition with bullying, intimidating, and misleading tweets, then clearly it is not. Is this administration preserving, protecting, and defending freedom of religion if it seeks to alienate those of any one belief or non-belief? And clearly, it is not. Is this administration preserving, protecting, and defending freedom of the press if it seeks to suppress our mainstream media by calling responsible journalism fake news? Then clearly it is not. Does this administration respect the three co-equal branches of our democratic form of government? If it seeks to put itself above the legislative or judicial branches, then clearly it does not. Republican Congress, it's getting to be past time to do the right thing. Stop looking like a corrupted pool of complicit, spineless, obstructionist, toadying, Trumplican jellyfish and do what you have also sworn to do. Preserve, protect, and defend this Constitution. And yes, that does mean putting country, as in we the people, not your wealthy donors or corporate lobbyists, above party. You would do well to remember each morning when you wake that you have also sworn an oath of loyalty to this Constitution, not to this president. Thousands of years of human history to draw from. If absolute power is already corrupting absolutely, will you let history repeat itself? Which side of history do you want to be on? Will you just sit idly by as Rome burns while Nero twitters? Because if we're going to be honest, what you're looking at right now is the real state of the union. And it ain't pretty. Who am I? I'm Washington. Who am I? I am Adams. Who am I? I am Jefferson. I am Madison. I am Hamilton. I am Lincoln. I'm your conscience. And if I'm not bothering you, I should be. Because we're all watching. Many of us are doing a lot more than just watching. There's a rising tide out there. It's already lapping at the doors of your offices and streaming all the way up to the steps of the White House. This is just a friendly tsunami warning. Democracy is a very, very fragile thing. If you can't preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution, then we, the people, will. My name is Christopher. I'm a 12th generation American. And though I alone am responsible for this message, I am far, far from alone in its approval. To paraphrase another Republican American icon, presidents got to know his limitations.